And welcome back. PS 340, give me your big round of applause. You're a part of this show. Thank you so much. Welcome back. You know, November is Diabetes Awareness Month. We want everybody to know. Our next guest joins us with the statistics and tips on cooking, shopping, and more. We welcome Angela Vita to the show. She's a retail dietitian for ShopRite. And we welcome you, and you're always welcome to come back and share more on healthy eating and healthy living and how to live with diabetes and how to live without diabetes.
Thank you.
You have all of that information.
I do,
Yeah.
and I could be here all day.
I know you can, I know. I'm sure you're a wealth of information. But tell us about the statistics first. I know and we'll talk about all the wonderful food that you have on this table.
Sure. Well, unfortunately, according to the American Diabetes Association, in 2015, about 30 million Americans living with diabetes, which is a huge number.
Yeah, and a lot of them are not born with it, type 1 diabetes. They develop it, type 2 diabetes.
Right. So type 2 can be preventable, though it can be caused by genetics and being overweight or obese as well. So there's a lot of different factors.
Yeah, and I always say, people are wringing out that sponge here, getting all that insulin out by the foods that they're eating.
Right. Exactly. So
how do we prevent that?
how do we prevent that? Definitely weight management, of course. When we tend to overeat, our pancreas secretes more insulin to help bring those blood sugars down. And over time, the pancreas might not be able to excrete as much, so our blood sugars might stay high for a while. And over time, it can be insufficient.
Yeah. And due to the foods that we eat, you're like draining it out, so it can't produce. And it can if you change your diet, maybe.
Of course. So, there's always a question, what is a carb? How does it affect my blood sugar? There's two different types. We have our sugars and we have our starches. So we have our sugars, which are coming from, sugar-sweetened beverages, refined grains, such as, white bread, white rice. Those are foods that are high in the glycemic index. And when I'm talking about the glycemic index, those are our foods that, tend to raise our blood sugar a bit higher than others.
And that's what I think is one of the major problems with type 2 diabetes. The foods that are high on the glycemic scale, 70 and above is going to drain. It's like that sponge that you have in your pancreatic area that drains the insulin out of your sponge, I call it.
Right.
So then you need to take a shot or change your diet.
Exactly. So what, carbohydrates can we eat and how do we portion them out appropriately? Definitely our whole grains, for sure. So we have, some whole wheat bread, brown rice, farro, quinoa. They're very rich in fiber. And our foods that are rich in fiber are not going to bring our blood sugar levels up that much. And what's great about fiber is foods that are rich in it, it'll keep you full for longer and slow down digestion. There
you go. And so, what about this? I think I had some of this last night.
Yeah, quinoa. Quinoa is a great source of fiber and protein. It's quite easy to make. A lot of people are discouraged about it. It's pretty simple, just as easy as cooking rice. So you would do about 1 cup liquid. You can use low sodium chicken or vegetable broth to give it some good flavor. And you let it boil and you just cover it, simmer it. It takes about 15-20 minutes.
I like it.
Yeah. Farro, very similar. I grew up eating farro. I'm Italian. It's a great, it's a great grain that you can actually add to soups, or you can even make it as a cold farro salad. So similar cooking process as well.
All right. And is this the brown rice?
Yes, and then we have our brown rice. So a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of brown rice because they're so used to growing up and eating white rice. So it does take a little bit longer to cook. But if you're looking to eat more whole grains, but you're not ready to sacrifice your white rice, you can cook half and half. Or there's even something called cauliflower rice, where they're actually taking cauliflower and shredding it to resemble rice. And that's a great way to, make a nice healthy swap.
What about the tofu? People are simulating meats, chicken and beef with tofu.
So people forget that there's other protein sources besides meat. We also have eggs, we have beans or legumes, and tofu is a great source of protein. So it's fun to play around with it. It takes on the flavor of whatever you're seasoning it with, so it's important to just, season it well.
How did you get involved in this? I mean, you're a dietitian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And you work with the the company that you work with right now.
So I got into
ShopRite.
nutrition at quite a young age. You know, as I mentioned before, I'm Italian, so I grew up in a really big Italian family where food was always such a huge focus and pastime. So, you know, I always wondered, you know, my grandma had her own garden and she would make, you know, homemade pasta from scratch, you know, make her own bread. And I kind of brought me back to the basics of like the slow food movement, you know. Focusing on real foods, you know, shopping around the perimeter of the grocery store and picking up items, you know, to make instead of buying, you know, a pre-made option.
Yeah, and you know, you have to be careful being Italian. You can sit down at a table and eat all day.
Absolutely.
All day. It could be an event.
Oh yeah, that'll be me on Thanksgiving. We actually start our main course with pasta before the turkey and the stuffing and the potatoes. So I got to watch myself too.
I know, because my mom is from Naples, Napolitan. You know, so when we go out to that side of the family's house,
Right.
they just spread and you eat all day.
All day.
Non-stop. You know, just keep bringing it. And you roll yourself, let's see, you roll yourself out of the chair.
Absolutely.
And you try to make it to the couch. And you put your feet up and you lay back like a boxer on one of those stools. You got to put your legs out like that and let all the food go down to your toes. No, I'm only kidding. But you know what I'm talking about.
But actually, yeah.
Yeah. So this is great. All right, so what's some of the other stuff that we have here?
Okay, so portion control is really
Portion
important,
control.
especially when managing diabetes. So I kind of have a little image here of how, you know, the plate should look.
Yeah.
What I like to recommend is filling half the plate with non-starchy vegetables. What are non-starchy vegetables? We have peas and mushrooms, also, you know, our greens, broccoli, cauliflower, etc. And then here we have a tinier portion of grains. So I mixed some brown rice and some quinoa on the side of the plate. And then I have a nice little protein source. I picked some grilled chicken breast. And sometimes when I show this, you know, to my customers, they're like, oh, usually this is the part with rice or pasta or our grains. So the idea is kind of to just refocus our plate for a breakfast, lunch, and dinner as best as we can.
Yeah. Refocus for real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that matters where you place the food.
Yeah, exactly.
But what if somebody gets it and they just... But I see the chicken has no skin on it.
Yeah.
So-
You can have a little bit of skin. You know, it's kind of just everything in moderation. But chicken breast is a better source because it has less saturated fat.
Okay. What else do you have over there?
I have these delicious, perfectly portion-controlled pecan pie bites.
Oh.
And the kicker is there's actually no added sugar in these
No
pecan
added
pie bites.
sugar?
The sweetness is coming from dates, which is a great source of natural sweetness. They're just dried, and you just soak them for a little bit, and then put them in a blender. I mixed it with some chopped pecans for a nice, you know, added protein and crunch.
Yeah.
And I added some nice spices, you know, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, you know, because it's important to use sweet-tasting spices to make our baked goods taste sweeter, but they might not necessarily be as sweet.
And that's important. So the sugar comes from the dates?
Yeah, the sugar comes from the dates. And then I have these little phyllo dough
look at that.
cups.
Yeah.
So the serving size for these is about 2. But they keep you nice and full because of the fiber from the dates and the protein from the pecans.
And you can find this in ShopRite.
You can find all the ingredients in ShopRite, yeah. And that took me about 15 minutes to make.
Look
So
at
it's a
that.
really simple, quick, diabetic-friendly
Can
dessert.
we eat one?
Of course you can eat one.
We could eat the props?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, you got props.
And then when talking about, you know, beverages, you know, when you drink too many sugar-sweetened beverages, it can have an impact on our blood sugar. So I made a nice little spritzer here using our ShopRite's orange seltzer, which is calorie-free and sugar-free. And I just added a splash of juice, and I added some fresh whole cranberries and a nice little rosemary stem to give it, like, you know,
Oh,
a
that's
little,
cute. I'm sure it
little
tastes good,
decoration,
too.
especially for the holidays.
Now let me
so.
see. Can I taste it?
Yeah, you could taste it.
It's good, too.
Yeah, great way to add flavor to
Yes.
to drinks without adding extra calories and sugar.
What about this? Can you join me?
Of course.
Do you eat the whole thing or just like the old yodel?
Take a bite. Nice and sweet, right?
Very good. Now you have to wrap us up because I took the whole bite. Give her a big round of applause, everybody. Angela Vita. from ShopRite, and we can meet you over at.
1994 Bruckner Boulevard. I'm sorry, I'm chewing. You can visit me at the store. I offer free nutrition services, one-on-one consultations, classes. I know. And I also have a free diabetes class coming up on Thursday, November 29th at 6 p.m.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
Give her
you.
another big round of applause. We have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. My man Bobby C.